Welcome back to Steve Raw Reviews. Today's review is going to be all about these two batteries I have in behind me here. They're dual purpose batteries, marine batteries, kind of deep cycle but not really. I'm going to talk a little bit about these batteries and what I do to prep them before I install them. So let's go over to the bench, let's take a look. Okay, so here's the two batteries here, and they are a dual purpose battery, so you can tell if I just take the caps off here. And so you've got a post here and you've got a post here. One's threaded, one's not. So we'll just take all this stuff off here. And I bought these batteries before in the past, and what I like about them is they got the integrated handle, which I think is fantastic. A lot of batteries today do not come with a handle. Another good thing that I like about it is the specs and the price. So I'll put down here what the price was, because a lot of people maybe might not know. But I thought that was a smoking good price. So the first thing that I do when I get a battery is, of course, got to use one of these, right? And you can tell here, like that only took a second, right? We'll do this one here as well. And it shines it up so that you could get a good contact. So I'll do that on the other one as well after. But I want to show you the specs on this, and the only one that I ever really care about is, well, I'll show you right now. Okay, so let's take a look at the specs right here. So we've got the cranking amps, cold cranking amps. So we got 500, 405, and 100. That's the only one that I really care about. And when you're looking at the RC or reserve capacity, when you're thinking about like 100 reserve capacity, well, that is minutes. And what it actually means is 25 amps you can discharge from the battery for 100 minutes at 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that'll drop it down to a minimum of 10.75 volts, but I would never discharge a battery down that low. I think it's way too low, but it'll do it, right? So, if you just take a look at the battery now, I'll zoom you out, and I'm going to ask you a question and see if you can figure it out. Okay, so just pretend that you never seen me take these caps off, right? And you're looking at that battery. Can you tell which one is the positive and which one is a negative? If you look real close, you can see that there's a negative here and a negative here and a positive, but they're just stamped in, right? And they're not very, well, I would say reliable, especially if you're putting them in a spot. Visibility is not the best, and you don't want to make mistakes hooking up any cables. Well, this is what I do. Now I have my container of a whole bunch of different colors for marker pens. Now these are all oil-based, and so what I like to do is make sure that I have a good identifier on each side, right? So if we take a look at this one here, if I just put this on here, you see how much that actually highlights a lot better than before? And I only have to really mark one side, right? And right on the top of the post. I like to go right on the top of the post right here. This is an oil-based paint. It's not an ink. And in about 10 minutes it'll dry. So I always do one side. Now it kind of looks like pink, but it's not. And then the side here is the black. And that makes a huge difference as an identifier, especially in the two spots where I'm actually placing these batteries. They're not in high light conditions, and you never know, it might not be me that's replacing the cables next time or doing some work or maintenance on them. This only takes a second to do, right? It's not hard to do, and you can tell it makes a huge difference. And the next thing I like to do is I like to actually test my batteries on occasion, and of course when you have the identifiers on here, you're making sure that you're not making any mistakes. So before I actually put a battery in service, I actually check to make sure that the battery is good. So I test the battery. I mean, it's not hard to do, and Press enter. And it tests good. Voltage 12.66. Everything is good. It actually, I called for 500 and it's good for 572. So let's just exit out of that and then we'll take it over to the other side and we'll try it on that side. So here we go here again. I mean, these battery testers are just fantastic today. And let's just test this one and see what it says. This one here is even higher, 597. So 12.72 volts. So I mean, they're both within specs, and that's what I want to see before I actually take these up to my cabin in the woods and install them. So a little bit of prep time sure goes a long way, and these two batteries, what I'm using them for is, one is going to be for pumping water that I have in my spring, and I have a 12 volt pump and I pump water. It draws about maybe 5 amps. The other one, the same thing, except this one here pumps water into my hot water tank. Hot water tank pumps it in so I could have a shower. And this is my remote off-grid cabin up in the woods. And when you're thinking about buying a couple of batteries, it sure makes a difference. And them batteries are sealed batteries. You know, so you never have to add no water. That's what I like. They're maintenance free. And them little paint sticks, they're like a waxed paint stick. It takes about 15 minutes for it to dry after, and it stays on there forever. I'll put a link in here of how much I paid for them. They're not expensive. You can pick them up pretty much anywhere. I buy mine off of Amazon, and you could probably see these colors from here, because the one that I picked here, this one here, is fluorescent. It actually glows in the dark when it's dark. So if you're out there doing some maintenance at nighttime, you know, if all of a sudden if something's not working, you get your flashlight out, well, the tops of these posts will glow. And you know, that's just awesome. And of course, you have to have your battery tester, right? Last thing I want to do is drag a battery all the way up to this place and find out that, well, it's not that good. One, I use on a 100-watt solar panel, and it never just charges the battery, because I only operate it when the sun's shining. The solar panel puts out 5 amps, and the pump draws 5 amps, and that's why the battery lasts me 10 years. The other one, what I do is I kind of cheat a bit, is I've only got a 5-watt solar panel that trickle charges the battery for my shower room to pump the water into the hot water tank and then through the shower nozzle. But what I do is I have to have my generator running to heat the hot water tank. So I thought, okay, at the same time, I have a spare battery charger, and I have it hooked up to the cables to the battery, and every time I go to have a shower and I start pumping water, I turn the battery charger on and it charges at 15 amps. And so it never depletes the battery ever. So that way, you know, over time, yeah, I get a battery 10 years, no problem, using it like that, so that you never draw down. So I never want to go near, like, drawing it down to, say, under 11 volts. I mean, I think that's just, like, way too much. And my batteries, to tell you the truth, they never go below 12.5, 12.4, you know, ever. So, I mean, and that way they last a long time. And you're going to see these in action up at my camp this year. I'll swing you around all the different little places and show you what's going on. You'll see these where they're installed. So thanks for joining me here today. Come back again. If you've ever seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe. And check out my place in Northern Ontario. I'll put a link down below, and you can check out my cabin in the woods and my off-grid lifestyle. Cheers.